Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us here today. We are really looking forward to helping with this. I've gotten asked this question probably, I don't know, no less than 100 times in the past 90 days, even a lot more last year. But the biggest challenge as mortgage originators, mortgage professionals that we have is not doing loans. Doing loans is, can be challenging at times. But with the right infrastructure, the right knowledge, pushing the right buttons, doing the right math, the loans should become easier and easier, right? And getting the transaction done should be the given. So I always say, doing loans is not hard. Let me adjust this here, but doing a lot of loans is what the challenging part is. So when you think through, your business, and you're thinking through being able to scale from, 3 or 4 loans a month. The average number of loans, at least in a normal market, not last year, average number of loans per month for an originator in any normal market historically is 2.8 loans per month for all 600,000 plus licensed mortgage professionals in the country. And the challenge is most people are in their business every day, right? They're not working on their business. So doing loans is not hard. A lot of loans is really challenging because it stops becoming about knowing the guidelines, doing the work, running your automated underwriting systems, calculating income, doing pre-approvals. It becomes less about that and more about scale, right? More about delegation and figuring out who to hire, what to pay them, what they do, and then ultimately what they take off of your plate as a leader, and then as a leader, what you then focus on next. So I can tell you from experience, I've made all the mistakes that there is possibly to make. I started in 2011. I had no realtor partners. I had no database. I'd come from kind of a call center background. I got into management in some capacity, but really didn't have any business to speak of. It was just me trying to figure out what the next step is. And, I remember my dad saying, you should go try and meet with realtors and, make relationships and grow your business that way. And I said, Dad, I don't think that's a thing. I think you just, send out mailers and the phone rings and you sell people refinances. And he said, no, I'm pretty sure it is. So luckily I took his advice. And, I remember my first year, I think I helped somewhere along the lines of maybe 50 families for maybe 11 million. Loan sizes were a little smaller back then. And the challenge that I had was, how do I continue to grow? The next year, I think I did 60 million, and then the year after that was 98 million. And in a normal context, you would think, wow, that's really great growth. But the challenge was, it was just me, working harder and harder and harder and hiring people and putting them in seats that weren't really defined. And so it was, sometimes this person does this, and then sometimes I'll do that, and then they'll jump in, and then have, hired a marketing kind of business development person, but was really just focused on like flyers. And there was just so many mistakes made along the way that if I knew then what I know now, or what we've had the hindsight being 2020, we would have been able to advance the business much faster. So my goal here today is to share with every mortgage originator and even real estate professional, or for that matter, anyone who really runs a team at a high level, how to scale your business and think through the steps of your business. So let me start with that. There's 5 steps to a mortgage practice. There is leadership, there's lead generation, conversion, fulfillment, and then post-closing retention, which is kind of wrapped into one. Now, most originators are going to live in the conversion, which is, getting a client to work with them and helping them, get into a property. And then fulfillment, right? They're managing that file all the way through closing, babysitting it, making sure that everybody's happy, everything's done well, closes on time. They don't really ever get into retention or post-closing. They dabble in lead generation, mainly through, people they know, past client referrals, and then they try and get some referrals from maybe realtor partners or CPAs or financial planners. And the challenge is that they're always stuck in the middle, so they can't really focus on lead generation, which is incredibly important, and they rarely get into leadership. Or if they do, it's by happenstance. So the goal here today is for everybody to figure out how to get to the top 2 steps of that business, which is leadership and lead generation. And then ultimately, maybe just leadership, right? And your team can even handle lead generation. So first thing to understand is when. When do you make your first hire? And who is that first hire? Now, the number one mistake that I see loan professional or mortgage professionals make is that they keep too much of the revenue that they earn, right? And they realize it as personal income. And the challenge there is not unlike any other business, where if you're not reinvesting back into your business, into infrastructure, team growth, scale, marketing, then it won't grow, right? You're going to be pretty stagnant. And even though it might grow because of market conditions, like last year, rates going to the mid 2s, that's a false assumption of growth, right? It's really just the market giving you a gift. And so analyzing your business last year versus 2019 versus 2018, you'd see some pretty substantial differences. And they're likely just going to be how many deals you got, not necessarily what you did to get them. So going back into the win question, you can argue anywhere from 5 to 8. We land on 6. So when you're helping 6 families buy homes, refinance homes, you need to have 1 head count on your team. And this is not including you as the team leader. So that first head count we call a production partner, specifically production partner 1. And a production partner 1, their responsibility is to take everything off of the team leader's plate to allow them to focus on more of the things they should focus on. So production partner 1 should be managing email for the team leader. If you're a team leader, you're managing your own email, that is a kiss of death in your business, because it will manage you. You won't ever manage it. You'll be reactive to every email. An email that will pop up that your team could absolutely handle, or a processor or somebody will come up, and you will divert attention from meeting with your partners, meeting with your clients, and growing your business, right? Doing the things that you're really there to do. So you don't want to really even be in your email. You may want to check your email 2, 3, maybe 4 times a day max. Your production partner will flag your emails for you, the important ones. And if there's one that's really important or urgent, they'll call you or text you, right, to bring you back in. They'll manage your calendar. They're going to manage your leads, right? So anytime a new client comes into your ecosystem, they're going to talk to that client. They're going to schedule a time for that client to meet with you. You ultimately want that production partner to be able to have what we call the dreams and goals call, or the client intake call, because it doesn't, that first call doesn't need to be you. Your job is to analyze the information and then deliver the options and educate and motivate and influence somebody to do something that's in their best interest, right? Or to help them understand, which direction they should go. A lot of people think they have to be involved in that discovery call or that dreams and goals call because they believe that they're the ones that make that connection. And we've proven time and time again that's not the case. It's just somebody needs to do it, and they need to be trained how to do it, the questions to ask, how to deliver the value proposition. So you definitely have to train that person and have them shout at you as that's happening. But ultimately, production partner 1 is going to do the lead intake, manage your CRM at a high level, update all your business partners on any referrals that may be coming in, updating clients on documentation that we may need to do their pre-approval or get their refinance started. They're going to make sure you have a complete application and a complete document set list to be able to submit either into processing or into your loan coordinator, which we'll talk about in a second. But essentially, that person keeps you out of everything that's not meeting with clients, talking to clients, and working from pre-approved all the way down the line. So at this point, as a team leader, you're still doing a lot, right? You're still going to be pre-approving the loans, analyzing income, assets, credit, running AUS. You're going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and that's what slows people down. That's always what's been interesting to me, is that really good mortgage professionals are influencers, and I, not in a negative like social media influencer way, in a way that I think influencing is a superpower. It helps people do things that they may not have done otherwise, that is in their best interest, that may not have been super clear to them. So for example, we see clients every day that initially think, I can't afford to buy a house, it's not the right time, I shouldn't do this, blah, blah, blah. And then we walk them through the long-term cost of waiting. We walk them through a full financial analysis of renting versus owning. We show them what that might look like over the next 5 years with increased rents, increased appreciation in home prices and interest rates. And a lot of times we're able to help people make better decisions than they would have if they were left to their own accord. So if you have a really good influencer, an educator, somebody who can connect with someone, create relationships, has a great personality, and who really is more of a grower, that person should not be doing anything other than that, and from a business perspective. So everything else needs to be stripped off their plate. That's where production partner one comes in incredibly handy. So at that point, that will allow you to get to 10 to 12 transactions a month because you have somebody managing the front end of all of your business. Now, once you start getting towards 10 to 12, maybe even earlier, depending upon the economics of your business, then you want to hire a production partner two. And a production partner two is going to handle even more of the front end of your business. So when that file comes in, that production partner two will structure your analysis. They will price the loan for you. They will, prep your presentation. That way, right before you go to meet with that client or present that client the options, the production partner two can give you all that information, give you the context, give you the notes, and let you know, okay, here's what we've worked up, here's what it looks like, and you can go meet with the client and educate them. At that point, during the pre-approval phase, during the time when the client's out shopping, the production partner two is going to follow up with the client every week, make sure they feel heard, make sure that they feel supported, update their numbers on any homes they may be looking at. They're really going to own the pre-approval phase. They're going to reach out to the buyer's agent, making sure that they need everything, that it's there. And then when an offer is ready to be made, they're going to prep the pre-approval letter. They'll send it out. They'll alert you or put it on your calendar to call the listing agent. That way you can connect to the listing agent and try and help get that offer accepted and create another relationship. And then at that point, when the time the offer is accepted, you'll meet with the client in the contract meeting. And then if you have to be brought back into that file at all, the production partner two handles any in-process client communication, and they handle all agent client communication outwardly, and you'll just help the client, all the way through to closing. So production partner two is incredibly important because there's a lot that needs to happen in process. There's a lot that needs to happen during the pre-approval phase, and they really kind of run the pricing model, and they help you structure the loans in terms of setting up your analyses. So it's a really important role, and it's also a segue role into a mortgage advisor, which is the real kind of important piece of this. The next person you're going to hire, once you start getting, you're now 10 to 12, you hire a production partner two, you have a really strong front end team, production partner one, two, and yourself. You guys are now getting up to about, 18 families per month that you're able to help. And at that point, you want to hire a loan coordinator. And a loan coordinator is an incredibly important position. They are essentially, we always tell our client's job is to get the clients to like us and want to use us. The loan coordinator's job is to get the client to love us and want to use us forever, because they end up creating a really great connection with the client. They work with them the longest through their refinance or their purchase process. So a loan coordinator is someone who has processing experience. They have pre-underwriting experience. Essentially what happens is when the production partner one intakes the client's information, as opposed to the team leader, the loan officer actually doing the pre-approval and the work, it goes to the loan coordinator because, shocker, spoiler alert, they're better at that than you are anyways. That's what they do. They analyze files, they calculate income, they look at assets, they look at credit, they check guidelines, they run AUS. They make sure that that file is pre-underwritten to a T, right? So that way, when you submit that pre-approval, there's no, oops, I didn't see that, or I forgot to do this, or I miscalculated that. They're accurate all the time because they have the time and space to do that. So a loan coordinator would then reach out to the client when the client's going through their pre-approval phase, say, hey, my name's Ryan, I'm your loan coordinator, and I'm going to help you get your loan pre-approved. I just have a couple quick questions on the application. I'm going to need a verification of employment. I'm going to need this, that, and the other. And they really tie a bow around that file. That way, when it comes time to submit the options or present the options to the client, the loan officer can really own that and say, look, we've already done all the due diligence. We've done all the heavy lifting. Here's some of the things we know. Here's what we can do. Here's your options, different down payment amounts. And you can do that with all the confidence of the world because your loan coordinator has helped you to that point. And then when the file goes into contract, you want to make sure you're having a contract meeting. Ensure that you are, the contract meeting is one of the most important meetings that you can have in this business, because when someone locks a refinance in, there's a lot of moving parts, right? There's escrow refunds, there's impound accounts that need to be properly accounted for. There's, cash to close or cash back limits, cash out limits, time frame expectations, ensuring that, we don't blow lock periods. So all that is really important. So when someone locks in a refinance, the loan coordinators be on the phone with them, going over timing, going over what they need and what the next steps are. And then they're going to take them all the way through that refinance. When someone buys a home, it's the most stressful time within 24 to 48 hours after buying a home because of all the things going on in that person's life. Maybe they paid more for that home than they wanted to, especially in today's world. Rates have gone up a little bit, so maybe the rate's a little bit higher than they anticipated. Maybe they're wondering if it's the right home. They have buyer's remorse. So our job is to help them understand big picture thinking, have less emotion involved in it and more logic. And so the contract meeting is where we settle the client down, reaffirm all the information, let them know it's a good decision, or if it's not a good decision, let them know that as well. And the loan coordinator at that point is going to take the file from there all the way through to closing. And we tell our clients, if you only speak to the loan coordinator from here until closing and you don't speak with us again, that's a really good thing. That means everything's going really well, no hiccups, no snags, no problems. We've done all the heavy lifting already. At this point, the loan coordinator is going to take the file all the way through to closing, and you're going to have an incredible experience. They're going to quarterback the entire thing in terms of timing and documentation, updating you on your approval and appraisal. So you'll have a great experience with them, and then you'll hear from us and our team on the post-closing call, and we'll talk about helping you for the next 30 plus years. So at this point, you have a really strong system. And as an originator, you're only doing three things. You're meeting with clients in pre-purchase consultations or refinance analyses. You're doing contract meetings or refinance commitment conversations. And then you're growing your business, right? Because you have your team managing the front end, you have your loan coordinator managing the back end. So at that point, you're out of fulfillment altogether, right? That person's experience should be amazing all the way through, and you should have your key touch points as the team leader. Because again, you can be really great as an originator until you're not. And what I mean by that is, from 1 to 10 transactions per month, you're the best originator under the sun. But you throw 11, 12, and 13, then the whole thing starts to crumble because there's only 24 hours in a day, right? There's only so much time and energy you have. And so I always tell people, nothing will ruin your business like success unless you figure out the scale side of it. And I've seen this happen to far too many people. They're really good, really good, really good. And all of a sudden, their reputation starts to get diminished because what got them there won't get them the rest of the way, right? Which is scale, leadership, growth, training. So having that 4-person unit, and this is really front end, right? So my assumption is that you have a processor. That processor likely has an associate processor. We consider them more operations, right? And they don't have any client-facing responsibilities. They're mainly working with underwriting, escrow, title, doing all the back-end work to make sure that everything's running smoothly. Incredibly important job. It's just you wouldn't see that as a part of your origination team, right? Because it's not client-facing. So that 4-person unit between loan officer, production partner 1, production partner 2, and loan coordinator, that unit should be able to handle roughly 25 to 30 transactions per month. And when I say that, I mean doing it in a way that is very supportive of the client, that delivers an incredible client experience, that blows away the competition. And that client gets a half an hour, 20 minutes to half an hour initial dreams and goals call. They get a 1 hour long consultation about their transaction. They get a 30-minute consultation about their lock or their contract. They get a 30-minute post-closing call, right? So there's legitimately 3 hours in that, or 2.5 hours of real solid client communication and value, as opposed to most lenders might give a client 10 minutes, right? Oh, you have this, okay, here's that, okay, great, here's your pre-approval, okay, great, you went to the contract, give me this, that, and the other, go. It's like a conveyor belt, right? It's just transactional. So could you do more? Yes. But could you do more in a way that is supportive of the client, that creates a more successful long-term homeowner, that creates more confidence and motivation? I would say no. Right? It would be very hard to do that. So at this point, you're 25 to 30 transactions with that team. I'll tell you from experience, that's where I got to in 2016, and probably towards even 2017. And towards the end of 2017, I realized that I was the biggest inhibitor of our growth. And spoiler alert, you as the leader of your team are likely the biggest inhibitor of your growth as well, right? Because you can't get out of the way enough to allow more business to come because it has to channel through you. And that is not only not great for you, your team, it's not great for other clients because you have a phenomenal team. You do, and this is my assumption here, right? Is that you do better work than most, but more people cannot experience that because you haven't built it to scale. And so the other thing you're going to find is you're going to find burnout, right? I was meeting with 4 clients a day in just in consultations, which was 4 hours. I was doing a couple contract meetings a day, which is another hour. I was, trying to grow the business in other areas. So like I was literally 5, almost 6 hours a day in terms of client facing communication and, managing email for, just jumping in and checking my few emails. I didn't have a lot of time to grow the business. And even if I did grow the business, then where would I be? I couldn't even do more. If you put a 5th consultation in that day, that client would have got the worst version of me. I would have just been so mentally drained by that point because we spend a lot of time helping make sure that clients make smart decisions and really diving into their analysis and holistically helping them plan financially, and not just here's your mortgage, good luck. So if you're building a really sustainable practice and one that you're proud of and one that is a brand identity for you and the consumer, then you have to build it at scale because more people will want it and it's your responsibility to get it to more people. So I realized I was the inhibitor and I needed to clone myself, right? Science hasn't evolved to that point. So I said, my production partner 2 is really great. And he's proven himself to be really good because he talks to clients during the pre-approval phase. He updates their numbers. He talks to them, if someone has to get pulled back into that transaction because, appraisal comes in low, request for repairs, something happens where, there's a shift, he would come back in and restructure it and fix the problem, talk to the agents, and he would handle it, right? Allowing me to go continue to grow. So I said, he's got to be the guy, right? And so we moved him into a position that we called a mortgage advisor. And a mortgage advisor on our team essentially is just a replacement or a duplicate of myself. And so he was able to then have the pre-purchase consultations and do the contract meetings. And he was able to take clients all the way through and give them the same incredible experience. And what that did is it freed me up to not have to do every transaction. So he did half, I did half, and we were able to then grow to an even higher level. And then I realized that he could take on more. And so, but we also had more business coming in. So I said, okay, we need another team, right? We only have one channel, which, Amit was my production partner. He's now our mortgage advisor. We need a secondary channel because we're getting more opportunity. And so we were able to then take our business development manager, our post-closing manager, which I'll get to here in a second. And we were able to move them into a production partner / mortgage advisor role, probably quicker than we should have, especially if you talk to him, but he learned it quickly. He became trained and now he's phenomenal, right? But essentially from there, what I learned, and don't make this mistake, is that he can just do it on his own. He needs a production partner, and then he needs a second production partner and a loan coordinator, right? So essentially what you want to do is you want to create pods. So on your team, you'll have 4-person pods: mortgage advisor, production partner 1, production partner 2, loan coordinator. Same thing in pod 2, pod 3, pod 4, pod 5. We have 5 pods now, and every client gets the same exact experience every time. And that's what a great business is made out of, right? Is that can you replicate and scale an incredible client experience with a high level of value consistently? And if the answer is yes, you have a great blueprint. And if the answer is no, you have a massive problem, because you're going to be really good until you fall off. And half the clients are going to say, well, he was good for me, but he wasn't good for me, right? Because maybe I got to him when he was too busy. So think through the maturation of your business in advance, and I would highly recommend building off these pods, replacing yourself. And what it's effectively done is we've had the ability to help, I think, 570 families just on my team last year. And I was fortunate just to be able to kind of touch base with them on the post-closing call, ask how their experience was, introduce myself, and hands down, they did better than I did because they had more space, they had more time, they had more energy. I was rushing from one meeting to the next. I had to meet with this realtor and meet with this client and drive over here and do that. And the mortgage advisors can just focus on the client, right? I can focus on business development, growth, leadership, lead generation. So that's how you're going to want to scale your production teams. I tried the junior loan officer route where leads would come in and I would just give it to them. I tried that back in 2013. Their process was completely different, right? They didn't take the client through the same experience. They didn't do the same presentation to the client. They didn't do the same contract meetings. Even though they were trained on it, they just didn't have the resources, right? They didn't have the team. They didn't have the infrastructure. I would try and tell realtor partners, okay, well, you're going to work with this loan officer, and it just wouldn't work, right? Because nobody wants to be told who to work with. So the key is to be able to say, look, we have a team of experts that create redundancy across the platform. Now, what this also does is it creates freedom. And for loan officers out there that are overwhelmed and overworked, especially after last year, you probably know what I mean. You're always tied to your cell phone. You're at the mercy of other people's time frames. So you can't not be on. When someone needs a pre-approval letter Saturday at 5 to get a house, you have to give it to them, right? You can't not. Now, when someone needs to talk about a low appraisal Wednesday evening at 7 because the contingency is due the next day, someone has to have that phone call. And if you're always that person, you start to resent the business, right? Because it takes you away from your family. It takes you away from your healthy habits. It takes you away from your mindfulness. It doesn't give you space to be the person you want to be, the father, the friend, the son, the husband. Same thing for females. I'm just using it in my view. And so you have to understand that when you're building something, you can't just build it for business purposes. You have to build it for personal purposes. And so what it's allowed me to do, fortunately, is now my team is on a rotation on weekends, so I can have my weekends to recover and relax and rest, and my team can have weekends to recover and rest and relax, and then come back and do our job really well. But working 7 days a week, 10 hours a day, only lasts for so long. And then health problems arise, mental health problems arise. You start resenting when your phone rings, thinking, oh God, I'm tethered to this thing. You lose relationship connectivity. And this industry will do that. It will eat you up and spit you out because you're good at what you do and you want to be good at what you do. And it is all coming from a great place. But it has to be sustainable. And it can't just be sustainable for you. It has to be sustainable for your team. So you can't just say, okay, I'm finally free now, but my team is not. So if they're in a position where they're having to work every weekend and take calls at night and do all this stuff, then you haven't created space for them either. So understanding how a team like that means that you can pay someone X amount of dollars to work a weekend, right? So they're earning revenue, they have the ability to get leads in, you're driving leads into that channel, and it's worth it for them, but maybe they only have to work 1 out of every 5 weekends or 1 out of every 4 weekends. It's not mandatory, but likely they'll want to do it because it gives them the opportunity to grow their team. And then the cool thing is that the mortgage advisors then become team leaders, right? They then start to create their own business. They can then grow, and then they can create mortgage advisors now under them, right? So then they get that freedom. And so it's a repetitious cycle that not only accounts for growth, but promotes it. And our industry for so long has been I'm here, your team's here, and it has to stay that way in order for me to continue to earn what I want to earn or whatever. And that's wrong. I think it is soul crushing for anybody to be in the same job forever with no upside or no growth potential, no ability to become something. Now, I'm not saying everybody will. I'm not even saying everybody wants to, right, or even has to. But the opportunity needs to be there. And if they want to stay in that job because they're loving it and that's just their speed, by all means, awesome. There's people that have worked the same job for 30 plus years and they love it every day. And more power to you. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's also people that have been in the same job for 30 years that never had the opportunity to move up, or were never coached, or never were given a vision that was greater than the vision that they could perceive for themselves. And that's wrong. It's our job as leaders to create a vision greater than somebody has for themselves. There's so many people that walk around in life and just think, well, this is kind of who I am. This is what I do. And I go to work and I make this and this is it. It's because they don't have a mentor. They don't have somebody who may have been in that position, but somebody else reached down and pulled them into a position that they were uncomfortable with for the time being, but now they're happy in. So having a runway or a path that says, look, you can go all the way up. There's no ceiling. It has to be a part of your business. And there'll be some people that go up to that, to that top floor and beyond. And there's going to be some people that, stop at different points along the way. But all of those have to be okay. So creating space for everybody, making sure that everyone has room to grow, promoting that level of growth. We have a young woman on our team who, came to me a while back, and, she was making X amount of dollars in a certain role. And now she's making 5 or 6 times that in a role that we didn't even know would exist, right? Because we were a small 6-person team. And now we're, we have 130 employees. And none of us saw that, right? But we just knew that, in order for everyone to grow, the guy at the top or the girl at the top has to grow. And they have to create space and infrastructure for people to come underneath them. And look, there's no MBA, there's no class on how to scale a mortgage business. If there was, or if there is, I was never taught it. I had to learn the hard way. And I still don't know one that exists, which is why we're trying to present this today. But you have to have those steps. So know at each point in the process who you need to hire, what you need to do. Now, that's the production side of it. It's a 4-unit pod, and then it's multiplicating the pod. And you could have 10 pods. Right? And at some point, you'll probably want to have sales team managers, because you as a leader will not be able to oversee all 10 pods in a way that's appropriate. So I want to talk about some of the other roles we have on our team. We have a team lead manager, a young gentleman who essentially, anytime something comes in our ecosystem, he knows where it came from, exactly when it came in. He pushes it out to our mortgage advising teams. He makes sure that it's in the CRM. He manages our metrics, our numbers, our conversion. He meets with the teams, making sure they know their numbers really well. He's a data wizard. And so he is really important, because if leads just go into a shared email and it's first come, first serve, again, hire people for what they're good at and allow them to grow there. Most originators are not detail oriented. Their CRM consists of a napkin and half of an Excel spreadsheet. And so when we ask in the coaching sessions or in our tribe community or art of homeownership community, hey, tell me your numbers, where your misses, and they go, I don't know. I fund about this many units a month, and that's kind of the extent of it. And because it's a good enough number, they don't really bother digging into the numbers. But you have to have someone on your team who knows those numbers well, and that team lead manager is incredibly important. They'll manage us here, and they'll hold everyone accountable. They'll make sure that nothing falls through the cracks. They're fast and efficient, and they can really make sure that the right people, because if someone's waving the white flag saying, I can't take on any more business, our team is pretty full right now, we need to get through this, then they can reallocate that to somebody else. That's going to happen typically when you're closer to 50, 60 transactions a month. So having that team leader, incredibly important. Another really important role is the production manager. So because you have multiple pods at some point in your maturation, having somebody that really oversees, kind of like a chief of staff for your team, really it helps with implementation of projects, CRM projects, lead management projects, ensuring that when the team needs support with locking loans, with pricing, that it doesn't have to come to you as the team leader, because again, you still create a bottleneck if you're the only person. So the production manager is integral in ensuring that they really report to you on what's happening, where are the shortcomings, where are the wins. Production manager really analyzes every week we meet with our team. He puts out all the numbers, talks about the things we're doing well, things we need to improve upon. And I'm able to just come in, give some key advice, help some people, and then move on to leadership and lead generation. So production manager at some point in your business is really important. A couple other key components to your business is going to be a marketing director, marketing manager of some sort. We are in a marketing business. In case you aren't aware, Quicken is definitely the leader in the clubhouse in terms of loan origination volume. They are not even close to the cheapest. They're actually probably one of the most expensive mortgage lenders in the country. If you go look at their rates online, the number of points they charge for an average interest rate is fairly aggressive. But the consumer just thinks, okay, well, Quicken does a lot of loans, so they must be good. It's just marketing, right? They spend more money marketing their product than anybody else. So you have to think, okay, well, what do I need to be doing to grow my business? Same thing, marketing. You have to diversify your lead channels. You have to understand, where you need to be seen and how. So you need to be retargeting your past clients. You need to be on social media. You need to have pay-per-click. You need to have some lead funnels. You need to make sure that your realtor partners have co-branded and collaborative marketing, that your post-closing marketing is intact. And so having someone on your team who understands and measures your performance in terms of marketing and where your return on investment is coming from, where the majority of your business is coming from, in either helping you diversify or dive deeper into those channels, that marketing role is incredibly important. In terms of where you would hire that marketing person, in terms like how many closings per month, it's hard to say because I don't know your revenue model, right? If you're doing even remotely close to 10 units a month roughly, you really should be in control of your profitability. You should have your own profit and loss, your own operating account. Ideally, you're getting the lion's share of the revenue, not the company. And you can really, not saying that revenue is for you to make, but that revenue is for you to run your business. Most originators operate off of anywhere from 70 to maybe 150 basis points. And when they think about hiring, their initial reaction is, well, if I hire someone, I'm just going to make less money. First of all, that's never the case. Hiring A players will always be free. Darren Hardy taught me that. We were at an event in Hawaii, and he looked right at me, and I had a question. I said, so, my concern is I only get this much money from my comp plan. So anytime I hire somebody, it comes out of that. And so, I was making 120 basis points. Now I'm only making 70 basis points because I have to support my team. And he says, well, when you started, how much volume were you doing? Now you have a team, how much do you have? And so at the end of the day, I was still making more revenue, but A players should always be free. They should always make you more money than you could ever pay them. And over time, when they become more valuable, then they can earn more as well. But you really have to control the revenue on that. And that's where, just making sure that you have the right model, you're in the right company, the setup is appropriate. And, it doesn't mean you have to charge higher rates. You can charge extremely competitive interest rates, but just ensuring that you're receiving a lion's share of the profit, because if you're struggling, it's likely not because, the business is challenging, it's because the scale is challenging. And your fear around hiring, especially non-production hires, like a marketing person is a non-production hire. It sounds crazy because all marketing does is increase production, but it's not a person who's, frontline, who's a converter, who's, really, making the true, sale, even though I hate the term sale, educating the client and doing the consultations. But I would say, assuming you have a good revenue model, around 10 units a month is where you want a marketing person to step in and take on that role. Because, if you should be around, depending upon your market, 300 to 350 basis points from a profitability perspective, which then lets you reinvest that back into your, into your profit margin or back into your team structure, which gives you a lot of room to be able to accomplish that. So knowing that marketing person's there, what you want to couple that marketing person with is a business development manager, because the marketing person really should be inside, right? And they can do a lot of great things from behind the computer, on the phone. They can help you with an incredible profile. They can manage your brand, which from a team perspective is incredibly important, making sure brand management and brand exposure is there. But a business development manager really helps deliver the commitment to your business partners and your relationships. And what I mean by that is, when we meet with our partners and let them know what we do and how we do it, I could never be the one to actually fulfill that because of everything I had on my plate. And so hiring a business development manager was a game changer for us, because that person can focus on deepening and strengthening and adding more value to the relationships that we currently have with our realtor partners, our CPAs, financial planners, estate planning attorneys, contractors, the companies, our Facebook account, our Vizio, and all these corporations that we work with. They can really own those relationships. They can, hey, what do you guys need? How are we doing? what should we be doing collaboratively? How are we generating more business together? What's the next step? How are we helping your database? How are we, ingraining you more into the community? Like the business development manager really is a grower, and you give them direction and advice, and they'll bring you in for certain meetings and that kind of stuff. But it's a really important role because without it, you're really just kind of doing loans, right? And that's kind of what that's what your value is to your business partners, is that you get their loans done well and clients are happy and you're extremely valuable, and there's nothing wrong with that. But to really drive your business to another level, you need to be valuable to your partners outside of just being a lending resource. So business development manager would probably come around 15 transactions a month or so. Again, you have to control the profitability of your business model in order for a lot of this to make sense. But assuming you do, that's when having a marketing person and biz dev working hand in hand, side by side, is a really big lift for the organization as a whole. And then lastly, from a just kind of a team perspective, a post-closing manager is a role that, well, first of all, it has to happen, right? So you're going to be the post-closing manager up until probably about 10 to 15 transactions. So post-closing in the mortgage business typically means, in the normal sense, someone who helps the loan when it closes and they ship it to the investor. This is not that post-closing person. This post-closing manager will deliver your commitment to the client. So for art of homeownership professionals, out there, your commitment is to help people grow their generational wealth, save money at every turn, avoid mistakes and bad decisions, and really plan for future real estate goals. So that's our commitment to the consumer. And we help them in so many ways with that through the platform. Challenge is if it's all systematic, right? It's all technological and there's no touch, you can't really make that commitment. And I have never, to this day, including myself, seen or met anyone who is good at growing the front end of their business while simultaneously adding value to the database and all the clients who already know, like, and trust them. Most people just focus like a lawnmower without a bag. They just go, stuff flies out the back, and they turn around a couple years later and they see grass scattered everywhere, and they're like, "Huh, be nice if I put a bag on that." And that's essentially, metaphorically, what a post-closing manager does. So the post-closing call should happen by the team leader. I would say up until about 50 transactions a month, the team leader is going to want to take that, maybe 40, depending upon, again, scope and scale. But for me, the post-closing call was one of my favorite things to do, because it allowed me to meet the client, who to this point I hadn't met because my team helped all the way through. The client was really excited to chat with me because it was my name on the team. And we really cemented our relationship and our value for the next 30 years. So, part of what we do is say, "Mr. Smith, we're super happy for you. We're going to, when are you moving in?" I have a whole script. If anybody wants the post-closing call script, just notate it in the comments, drop your email, and we'll send you the post-closing call script. I think even if you're not an Art of Homeownership partner, well, first of all, I would highly recommend looking at it because I think it's going to change the industry for the better. But even if you're not, it'll give you some really great nuggets and pieces of advice that you could use on that post-closing call script. But essentially what we do is we tell the client how they can expect us to help them proactively for the next 30 plus years, and how they should depend on us to become not just a homeowner, but a successful homeowner. And that conversation opens them up to a different way of thinking, because previously, when any other mortgage lender, they never heard from them again, unless maybe somebody called them about a refinance or sent them some stuff in the mail. But I always ask the question, "Mr. Smith, how many times have you heard from your mortgage lender in the past couple of years to proactively help you plan for future real estate goals, or to ensure that you're in the right mortgage, or to make sure that every aspect of your real estate and finances is buttoned up? How often are you having that conversation?" And they laugh every time, and they go, "Yeah, I've never had that before. No one's ever called me." And I say, "You know what? I apologize. That's just, unfortunately, the mortgage industry is like that, right? They focus on selling debt, and once that debt is sold, they try and go find somebody else to sell debt to." And we are very much different in that capacity. And again, that's why I urge you all to use this post-closing call. And more than anything, I urge you to actually be the person who wants to be more valuable to your client, step one. But by going through the post-closing call script, it sets up your post-closing manager to really have a great experience with the client. So our post-closing manager calls the client on our 3-month follow-up call, making sure that everything's taken care of, payments are okay, any questions, any updates are done to their home. Then we ask, are you maximizing tax benefits? Are you planning for retirement well? Do you have an estate plan, wills, or trust in place? Do you have the appropriate insurances in place? Any work you planning on doing to the home, or you might need a contractor? So there we can either get or give referrals, which the post-closing manager is incentivized to do either way. And then we talk about what the rest of our process is going to look like, our 6-month call and an annual financial reviews. He then calls on the 6-month call, does a refinance analysis. That's the first time we can use an updated value on the home, analyze the mortgage, make sure everything's going well, and then talks about the annual financial review. And I tell clients, look, every year, Mr. Smith, Russ on my team, who's our post-closing manager, he's going to call and, when's the last time you had someone call you, just give you advice and guidance and help you without selling you something? Same thing. Yeah, that's never happened. So if I don't tell you about this now, you're probably not going to have a single clue why Russ is calling you, but that's exactly why he's calling you. We want to know what's happening in your life, what's new, what's changing, what's evolving. And we can help you manage the changes and evolutions of your life through helping you understand, are you in the right mortgage? Are you in the right house? Are we planning for retirement appropriately? Is there anything we should do one way or the other? And so that post-closing manager is an incredibly valuable, important component. They not only add value and engage your database, but they grow your business like crazy, and they allow you to functionally commit to the promise you've given to your client, which is you can get a loan anywhere, but with our team, we're going to help you become more successful in every aspect of real estate or finance. And this is how we do it. Right? So Art of Homeownership takes over. They get all the 7 services. Your post-closing manager takes over, and you're off and running. And then your post-closing manager brings your team back in whenever there's transactional necessities. So if a client wants to move up, down, out of the area, refinance, cash out, one of the myriad of things we can help clients with, that's when your post-closing manager steps back in and says, okay, well, Amit, Myron, one of the mortgage advisors are going to get back in touch with you. We'll go through the planning process. We'll take you through the next steps. So that is kind of your wheelhouse for, from the production side, there's an unlimited amount of production you can do. You'll want to elevate your mortgage advisors if you get probably more than 6 or 7, pods on the team. Some of those, 1 or 2 of those mortgage advisors will want to become kind of a sales manager role to help train and give feedback and advice, along with the production manager who really oversees the entire team. But the marketing manager, the business development manager, at some point your business will get to the point where you may need multiple business development managers, or a business development manager and an associate business development manager that can help them with kind of some remedial things. Marketing team may need to grow. Our marketing team is now a 3-person team as we continue to kind of grow and scale. But secondarily, what this allows you to do is help more people do what you've done. So continuing along like my journey, I really never had an intention to hire loan officers or be a branch manager or any of that stuff. I just knew that I wanted to help people, and I wanted to do it in a way that was different. I didn't want to just sell loans. I wanted to help people grow their wealth and work towards financial freedom. And the challenge that I had was I didn't believe that other loan officers would be able to help me in that. I knew that they would have needed help themselves, and that would have detracted me from my growth. But in growing a team, what it allowed me to do is 2 things. One is that other mortgage professionals saw what we were accomplishing and the blueprint in which we were accomplishing it, and they knew that by partnering with us, we could help them do the same thing. And that's where we found a lot of success, is that now, because there's space and time and I can step back and look and help people, we've been able to bring in originators. We have one team member who's doing about $1 million a month in production, which is not a bad thing. And last year did 130 million, and this year he'll probably do closer to 150. And that was I think he started with us in 2017, so call it a 3.5 year time span. Another originator was doing a loan, maybe 1 loan every other month or so. Now consistently does about 20 transactions, 15 to 20 transactions a month. And we have a lot of case studies where people are able to grow their practices because more than anything, they just needed the blueprint. They were already really good at what they did. They were just hitting ceilings, or they didn't have the mentorship. They didn't have the ability to figure it out. And so, whether you are involved in coaching, Tribe Coaching is a group that we're involved in, that we preach this stuff every day, not only the team building, but all 23 areas of somebody's business and their life, right? Because, you can't just grow your business and have your life suffer. Both have to grow simultaneously. So really understanding, like, where can you get the mentorship? Where can somebody actually help you with the implementation of the mentorship? Because there's no shortage of people that will tell you what to do, but who can actually help you do it? Right? Who's going to get their hands dirty? Who has the team and the infrastructure and the support to say, all right, we can take you from where you are to where you want to go? And finding that person is going to be incredibly helpful. So find a mentor, find somebody that can really, whether it's somebody at your company who's already doing well, who has a great business model, whether it's through Tribe and getting coaching through that, using the systems, the infrastructure, so using Art of Homeownership to really help. And that was one of the great things that came of me having some space away from being in the business all the time, is that I was able to conceptualize Art of Homeownership, saying, look, our customer experience and our customer service is not enough. People were confusing customer service with value. And we had arguably one of the best customer service experiences in the country when it came to getting a mortgage, but yet people were still opting for, the cheapest interest rate they could find because they thought that was what was important to them. And they didn't really care about the service, which in hindsight kind of makes sense. So if somebody asks you why you or your team, and you say, because we have great customer service, or we close on time, or we're fast, or, we have great communication, whatever it is, all that stuff everyone else is saying, regardless if they're doing it or not, that's another story, but everyone's saying it. So you have to be able to differentiate your team. And you can do that through the Art of Homeownership platform, through, building systems and infrastructures that will help you say, okay, this is how I can scale something really great and offer it to more families. So find the mentorship, find the systems and the programs, and then ultimately find the model to do it on. And so once you have those three things in place, the runway is pretty wide open, right? At that point, it's all gas, no brakes. And the amazing byproduct that I'm grateful for every day is, I get to do what I love, which is growing something, building something, helping, we went from, a couple employees to 130 employees, like really being a part of something special and making a difference. And the really cool byproduct is that we get to help a lot of families be successful homeowners and do things they may not have otherwise done, and get information they would have otherwise not had access to. And we challenge them to think differently. We challenge them to, think about retirement when they may not. But all of that comes from, you need space, you need energy, you need time to be able to put these things into place. And all that starts with your first hire. So if you believe in yourself, which hopefully you do, then hire that first person, right? You don't need to wait till you get to 5 or 6 loans, right? You can hire them right out of the gate. You can start brand new with them. And yes, they may cost you a little bit of money. It may be an investment until you get to speed, but I promise you it will be pale in comparison to the challenges you're going to face if you don't have somebody who can help you scale your business. So we have about a couple minutes left here. I don't want to take up the entire hour, but hopefully this was helpful for you guys. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out. And if there's anything we can help you with, this is part of the fun part of what I get to do now, is help people do things that they may not have done otherwise, help people see a vision for themselves that they may not have seen, and really bring a lot of special people into our industry. We've had a ton of fun with that over the last 9 months, and just bringing people from all industries and saying, look, you have an incredible opportunity. If you're humble, hungry, and smart, you'll probably do well in our environment. And we've been able to train them from stay-at-home parents to engineers to teachers, all sorts of different walks of life, to really take on some incredible opportunities. We have some of our post-closing managers are just astounding, and they hadn't been in the industry. Our processors, our associate processors, our associate loan coordinators, our operations team, closers, funders, project managers. So you have to look at this like a business. And again, there's no MBA, there's no college you go to that says how to run a successful mortgage practice. But through Tribe Coaching, you'll get a lot of that. You'll get the blueprint. Art of Homeownership will give you the ability to then commit and deliver on all those things. And then just hiring the right people, making sure that you are paying them appropriately. I think that's one thing we didn't necessarily talk about. Compensation is different in every market. Some people, in higher cost of living areas just need a higher cost of wage to support themselves and their families. So obviously it's going to be a little bit specific on market, but one thing that you have to realize is you will always get what you pay for. So if you have a really talented person, pay them appropriately. Don't think that you're saving money by underpaying them based upon their values they deliver. And consequently, don't overpay people simply because they've been there for a long time, right? People are always going to be earning the value they continue to support. And unfortunately, that caps out for a lot of people, right? Because a certain team member can only do X number of files. So if that team member wants to make more than that, then they need to figure out how to elevate into a new position, take on more responsibility, add more value to the organization. And that's just a conversation that you need to be having with your team consistently. So having check-ins, making sure that people have a voice and the ability to say, hey, look, this is where I am. Here's where I want to go. What can we do? How can we structure it? It's really healthy. And I think it's something that's necessary. Otherwise, people feel like they might be in a box and not know how to get out. So that's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully this was helpful. And if you guys have any questions, let us know. We'd love to help you out more with this in our tribe group and on our Art of Homeownership. So if you have any questions about those, let us know. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Build an amazing team. Build it for yourself. Build it for your clients. Build it to change an industry that desperately needs it. Thanks, guys.